Chakshurmilitam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam jena bhutale Swayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Chan Sri Rupam Sagratatam Sahagana Ragana Tanvitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakatan Vitam Cham He Krishna Koruna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapachubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. So today, Thursday, December 18th, 2025. And we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order. Text number 31, the final chapter of the fourth canto. Narada instructs the Prachetas. And today we will be focusing in on shloka number 10. Kim janmabhi stribhirveha Shaukra savitra jagikai Karma birbatrayi proktai Pungso pivi buddhas yusha Kim janma bistrabhirveha Shaukra savitra jagikai Kama birbatrayi proktai Pungso pivi buddhas yayusha Kim janma bistribhirveha Shaukra savitra jagikai Karma virvatrayi proktai Pungso pivi buddhayusha
Kim janma bistribhirveha
Kim janma bistribhirveha Shokra savitra jagikai Kama virvatrayi proktai Pungso pivi buddhayusha Kim janma bistribhirveha Shogrika savitra jagikai Kama virvatrayi proktai Pungso pivi buddhayusha Kim janma bistribhirveha Shaukra Savitra Jagikai. Karma Virvatrayi Proktai. Pungsopi Vibudayusha. Himjamabi Sivirveha. Shobha Savita Jagdikai. Karma Virvatrayi Proktai. Pungsopi Vibudayusha. The synonyms? Kim. What is the use? Janmavihi, of births. Srivihi, three. Va, or. Iha, in this world. Chokra, by semen. Savitra, by initiation. Yogikai, by becoming a perfect Brahmana. Karma Vihi, by activities. Ma, or. Trayi, in the Vedas. Proktai, instructed. Pungsaha, of a human being. Api, even. Vibudha, of the demigods. Ayusha, with the duration of life. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. A civilized human being has three kinds of births. The first birth is by a pure father and mother. Notice that's a civilized human being. Pure father and mother. Not just a Shudra with an impure mother and father. Significant. And this birth is called birth by semen. The next birth takes place when one is initiated by the spiritual master. And this birth is called Savitra. The third birth, called Yajnika, takes place when one is given the opportunity to worship Lord Vishnu. Despite the opportunities for attaining such births, even if one gets the lifespan of a demigod, if one does not actually engage in the service of the Lord, everything is useless. Similarly, one's activities may be mundane or spiritual, but they are useless if they are not meant for satisfying the Lord. Please repeat. A civilized human being has three kinds of birth. The first birth is by a pure father and mother. And this birth is called birth by semen. The next birth takes place when one is initiated by the spiritual master. And this birth is called Savitra. The third birth, called Yajnika, takes place when one is given the opportunity to worship Lord Vishnu. Despite the opportunities for attaining such births, even if one gets the lifespan of a demigod, if one does not actually engage in the service of the Lord, everything is useless. Similarly, one's activities may be mundane or spiritual, but they are useless if they are not meant for satisfying the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, wielding his mighty hammer and sword of transcendental knowledge. The word Shaukra Janma means taking birth by seminal discharge. Animals can take their birth in this way too. However, a human being can be reformed from the Shaukra Janma as recommended in the Vedic civilization. Before the birth takes place, or before father and mother unite, there is a ceremony called Garbhadhana Samskara, which must be adopted. This Garbhadhana Samskara is especially recommended for higher castes, especially the Brahmana caste. It is said in the Shastras that if the Garbhadhana Samskara is not practiced amongst the higher caste, the entire family becomes Shudra. It is also stated that in this age of Kali, everyone is Shudra due to the absence of the Garbhadhana Samskara. This is the Vedic system. According to the Panchatarātrika system, however, even though everyone is a Shudra due to the absence of the Garbhadhana Samskara, if a person has but a little tendency to become Krishna conscious, he should be given the chance to elevate himself to the transcendental platform of devotional service. Our Krishna conscious movement adopts this Pancharatrika Vidi as advised by Srila Sanatana Goswami, who says, Yata Kanchana Tam Yati Kangshang Rasa Vidanataha Yata Diksha Vidhanena Vijatam Jayate Nrinam. As bell metal, when mixed with mercury, is transformed to gold, a person, even though not golden pure, can be transformed into a Brahmana or Dvija simply by the initiation process. That's from the Hari Bhakti Vilas 212. Thus, if one is initiated by a proper person, he can be accepted as twice born, immediately. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore offer the student his first initiation and allow him to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. By chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly and following the regulative principles, one becomes qualified to be initiated as a Brahmana, because unless one is a qualified Brahmana, he cannot be allowed to worship Lord Vishnu. This is called Yogika Janma. In our Krishna conscious society, unless one is twice initiated, first by chanting Hare Krishna, and second by the Gayatri Mantra, he is not allowed to enter the kitchen or deity room to execute duties. Editor's note, unless authorized by the temple president. However, when one is elevated to the platform on which he can worship the deity, his previous birth does not matter. Chandalopi Dvija Shreshto Hori Bhakti Parayanaha Hori Bhakta Vihinascha Dvijopi Swapachadhanamaha. Even if one is born in the family of a Chandal, if one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, he becomes the best of Brahmanas. But even a Brahmana who is devoid of devotional service is on the level of the lowest dog eater. If a person is advanced in devotional service, it does not matter whether he was born in a Chandala family. He becomes purified. As Sri Prahlad Maharaj said, Viprad Dvishad Guna Yutar Haravinda Nabha Padaravinda Vimuchach Twapacham Vadishtam, from Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.10. Even if one is a Brahmana and is qualified with all the Brahminical qualifications, he is considered degraded if he is averse to worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if a person is attached to the service of the Lord, he becomes glorified even if he is born in the Chandal family. Indeed, such a Chandal can deliver not only himself, but all his family predecessors. Without devotional service, even a proud Brahmana cannot deliver himself, and what to speak of his family. In many instances in the Shastras, it is seen that even a Brahmana has become a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Mlecha, or non-Brahmana. And there are many instances of one being born a Kshatriya or Vaishya or even lower, and in the 18th year, attaining elevation to the Brahminical platform by the process of initiation. Therefore, Narada Muni says, Yashaya lakshanam proktam pungsavarna viyanjakam yadanyatrapi drisheta tatinaiva vanir. That's from the Bhagavatam 7:11-35. It's not a fact that because one is born into a Brahmana family, he is automatically a Brahmana. He has a better chance to become a Brahmana, but unless he meets all the Brahminical qualifications, he cannot be accepted as such. On the other hand, if the Brahminical qualifications are found in the person of a Shudra, he should be immediately accepted as a Brahmana. To substantiate this, there are many quotations from Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, Bharadwaja Samhita, and the Pancharatra, as well as many other scriptures. As far as the duration of life of the demigods, concerning Lord Brahma, it is said, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Haryad Vamano Vidu Vatrim Yuga Sahasrantim Tam Te Horata Vido Janaha. Bhagavad Gita 8:17. The duration of one day of Brahma is 1,000 times greater than the 4 yugas, aggregating 4,320,000,000 years. And Brahma's night is of the same duration. Brahma lives for 100 years of such days and nights. The word Vibhudhayusha indicates that even if one gets a long lifespan, his lifespan is useless if he is not a devotee. A living entity is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, and unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, his lifespan, good birth, glorious activities, and everything else are null and void. Nice, powerful purport. I'll get back to the verse, Sanskrit. Kinjamabhistribhirveha Chaukra Sabitra Yogikai Amabir Bhatrai Proktai Pungso Pi Vibhudayusha. A civilized human being has 3 kinds of births. The first birth is by a pure father and mother, and this birth is called birth by semen. The next birth takes place when one is initiated by the spiritual master, and this birth is called Savitra. The third birth, called Yogika, takes place when one is given the opportunity to worship Lord Vishnu. Despite the opportunities for attaining such births, even if one gets the lifespan of a demigod, if one does not actually engage in the service of the Lord, everything is useless. Similarly, one's activities may be mundane or spiritual, but useless if they are not meant for satisfying the Lord. Very conclusive. And of course, we were reminded of that verse from the 2nd chapter, 1st canto. The 2nd chapter is filled with many big, powerful, important verses. It's like that 2nd chapter. The 1st chapter is like an introduction to the Bhagavatam, and then the 2nd chapter, the hard-hitting philosophy is pushed out, pumped out, and in a very scientific way, and in a very potent way. And there are so many wonderful verses there in that 2nd chapter entitled Divinity and Divine Service. And text number 8 is said, Dharma sunustitam pumsam vishvaksena katasuya notpadaye didiratim rama eva hikevalam. That one's occupational duties are meant to be performed as an offering to the Lord. in the service of the Lord. And if one is performing some supposed occupational duties but not satisfying the Lord, then srama eva hi kevalam, that certainly those are a waste of time. They are useless. Prabhupada would sometimes say this to devotees when they were incompetent or being foolish. He would say, "You are useless." Let us not act in such a way as to invoke that upon our heads in our life and activities. If Prabhupada were sitting in front of us right now, would he be telling us how useless we are? He might. Of course, he was trying to encourage everyone, but because he's the spiritual master, he's giving instructions. It's the spiritual master's duty to instruct the disciple in the ways of spiritual life. And if the disciple is being foolish or lazy, then the spiritual master may let him have it, just to wake him up. Wake up, boy. Why are you sleeping on the job? Your spiritual life is the most important thing. So, srama eva hi kevalam. We shouldn't be performing our activities in such a way that they're not meant for pleasing Krishna. But everything has to be done as an offering. Yad karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad jahasi tapasya, yad jajasi, yad tapasyas ikonteya. Tat karusha manarpanam. That whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you perform, Krishna says, Tat karusha manarpanam. Manarpanam means offer to me. Do that as an offering to me. So that is the consciousness of the devotee, understanding his position as the eternal servant of Krishna, not the eternal enjoyer of Krishna's facilities, but the eternal servant of Krishna. Tat karusha manarpanam. Do that, O Arjuna. Tat karusha. Kuru means Arjuna. Tat karusha manarpanam. Do those things that you're doing, your austerities you're performing, your sacrifice, your charity, whatever you eat, whatever you're thinking about, all of that needs to be engaged in the service of Krishna. The type of focus. You see the horses that are pulling the carriage, sometimes you see them, they have the blinders on around the horse's eyes so the horse is not distracted. Like, oh, is there another horse over there? What's over here? No, he's just straight ahead. He can only see straight ahead because he's focused. Of course, that's a limited example. We're not going to, walk around like this. I can't see this, I can't see that. Of course, Arjuna, when the Pandavas were receiving their Kshatriya training, and the Dronacharya was teaching them about archery, so he was asking each one of them, there was a bird in the tree, which is the target, to be pierced by the arrow. So he's asking each one of them, so what do you see? And one was saying, I see the tree, I see the leaves, I see the sky, I see the surrounding forest, I see this, I see that. Came Arjuna's turn. What do you see? Arjuna says, I see the eye of the bird. Well, don't you see anything else? I only see the eye of the bird. So he's like the ultimate assassin who knows how to focus in on that target. I only see the eye of the bird. So he's like that. Therefore, he was the greatest of the archers, greatest archer that ever lived. And there have been some good ones. There's even this one guy on YouTube that he's like a really good archer, and he does all this stuff. He does the running and jumping. He's got the arrows, and he shoots all these arrows like really fast and hits all these different targets that he has set up like a little obstacle course. And he's got all these targets set up, and it's like pretty amazing. Ain't nothing. It's amazing to see that guy. He's super talented, but he's nothing compared to Arjuna. Arjuna who could release thousands of arrows a minute. And all of them were true to their target. He'd never missed. So he's the greatest archer who ever lived. But that type of focus in devotional service, Vyadasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana, that ekeha, one-pointed focus, takes place in the consciousness of a devotee who is fully fixed in Krishna consciousness. And others, bahushaka himantascha, buddhiyo vyavasayanam, because their intelligence is what Krishna says, bahushaka, many-branched, bahushaka hinantascha. It's like one is unlimitedly distracted by the sense objects and by different ideas and concepts, and one can't focus. Buddhiyo vyavasayanam, then he's bahushaka hinantascha, buddhiyo vyavasayanam, then he doesn't attain that Krishna consciousness because his consciousness is splayed out. But vyavasayatmika buddhi, that one-pointed ekeha, eka means one. You know how to count in Hindi. You know eka means one. Eka, dva, tri, chatur, pancha, shat, shapta, counting in Sanskrit or Hindi. Ekeha, one-pointed attention, one focus, service to Krishna. And within that continuity of consciousness that's one focused, one can accomplish many things for Krishna without being, as we say, spaced out. When one is spaced out, that means that one's mind is wandering through outer space, all over the universe. Planets and stars and supernovas, and it's going everywhere. That's spaced out. Like they used to say, space, the final frontier. That's the Star Trek thing at the beginning. Space, the final frontier. Well, for the living entity, that being spaced, that is the final frontier, that one has to cross that frontier and conquer that tendency to be diverted by so many things, generally the objects of the senses. Oh, this is over there. That looks cool. Oh, check that out. Oh, look at her. Hey. So that is not the consciousness of a devotee. The devotee is fixed on, my job is to serve Krishna because I'm the servant. What is the job of the servant? To render service. Of course, it's famous in India, the servant. Oh, you have to take this message and deliver it, say, to another office building. But the good servant will go right ahead, deliver that message. And the rascal servant will go down and drink a limca and maybe stop in at the movie house and go to the restaurant, and he'll do this and he'll do that. And he's not really delivering the message. And in India, it's Thursday afternoon. We can't do anything. Thursday's afternoon is inauspicious. So we'll just sleep under the shade of some overhang and then deliver the message tomorrow. Or, well, tomorrow's Friday. There's too much going on. Maybe Monday I'll get that message delivered. And if not Monday, then maybe the following Monday. So that's not the good servant. But the good servant knows, I've been given this task by my master, and therefore, as a servant, my duty is to satisfy the master. So I must accomplish it with all alacrity and enthusiasm and full strength, sensual strength and power, and accomplish my business and carry out the master's wishes. So the devotee is like that in relation to Krishna. I am Krishna's servant. Let me carry out and take care of Krishna's business and not become deviated by day trips, side journeys. Oh, this is a very difficult service. In order to carry out the service properly, first I need to take rest. And before I take rest, I think I should eat something. So therefore my rest will be really fulfilled. On a full belly, then the rest is very good. No, let me perform my duty. And then when it's time to take prasadam, okay. When it's time to take rest, okay. There's a time for that. What is that verse? The verse in the Gita that explains that one should be regulated in one's habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. Regulated. And in this way, one is able to work nicely in the service of Krishna. So regulation is very important. Nachatni swapna shila jagarato naiva charkina. It's the last part of the verse. So one has to be regulated. If one is regulated in one's sleeping, then when it comes time to do what needs to be done, one is not thinking about sleeping. Because one is regulated. One already took rest at the proper time in the proper amount. And then one also should eat at regulated times. Most of the devotees here are regulated in such a way that they don't miss breakfast or lunch or whatever other opportunities there are. They don't miss. So one should be regulated in one's habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation to keep the body fit and to focus and perform one's devotional service. So that's an important point. Now, Prabhupada is talking in this verse and this purport is speaking about the position of attaining second birth by initiation and third birth by sacrifice. So sometimes those who are born in Brahmana families, none of us have to worry about that. But those who are born in Brahmana families, they become a little proud, thinking that, yes, I am Brahmana. But Prabhupada quotes Narada Muni from the 7th canto. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam. Marna, what is it? It's here in the purport. Prabhupada quotes about 4 or 5 verses. Purport. There it is. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam. Pumso varna vyanjakam. Yadinyatra pidrisheta tatanaiva vanirnishet. That if one shows the symptoms of being, say for example, a Brahmana, though he may appear in another caste or class, but he shows these symptoms and qualities of being a Brahmana, then he should be accepted as a Brahmana, even though he may not be born in a Brahmana family. This is also referred to in the Gita. Chatur varnam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. And Prabhupada makes this point very strongly. The guna karma, according to one's qualities, guna, and karma, the type of work one performs. If one has the qualities of a Brahmana, sama dhamma tapo shocham, chartam arjavam evacha, gyanam viganam asikyam, brahma karma swabhavajam. Those are the qualities by which the Brahmana works. Equanimity, sama, dhamma, sense control, tapa, shocham. Tapa means performs austerity, shocham, very clean. Jnanam vijnanam astikyam, one cultivates knowledge by scriptural study. And vijnana, one has realization, practical realization of how to act on the platform of knowledge. Then Brahma karma swabhavajam, those are the qualities of the Brahmana. So if one exhibits those type of qualities, one should be accepted as a Brahmana, even though he may not be from a Brahmana family. And if one is born in a Brahmana family, but does not have those qualities, then he is not accepted as a Brahmana. What to speak of a Vaishnava? And there's one verse that Prabhupada doesn't quote here, but is obliquely referred to. A verse from the Vedas that states, Shat karma nipano vipro, manta tantra visharada, avaishnava guru nishad vaishnava swapacho guru. That even if a Brahmana is very expert in shat karma, shat means six, the six types of activities of a Brahmana. What are those? What are the six activities of a Brahmana? And that's explained. Yajan, Patan, Dani, Patigraha. That Yajan, he engages in performing Vedic sacrifices. And Yajan, he engages others in those sacrifices. So Brahmana will assist others by being the priest in the sacrifice. So you always have a Jaggic Brahmin conduct the fire sacrifice. And he may be doing that on behalf of someone, or someone is sponsoring it. Someone is having a sacrifice done for a particular purpose. And then Patan, he should study the Vedas, and he should engage others in studying the Vedas or understanding Vedic knowledge. So a Brahmana, not only he studies, but he's a teacher. He studies Vedic literature and he teaches that, same to others. And then Dana Pratigraha. Dana Pratigraha means he accepts charity from others. That's how the Brahmanas, they live by charity. And then he also gives in charity to others. So he accepts contributions and then he distributes them. So those are the Shat Karma. Yajan, Patan, Dani, Pratigraha. So even though a Brahmana, Shat Karma, Nipano Vipro, he may be very expert in those six duties, mantra, tantra, visharadaha, knowing all the mantras and all the tantric tricks of the Vedic ways. But a Vaishnava Guru Nashad, if he's not a devotee of Vaishnava, Guru Nashad, he cannot become a guru. He is not qualified if he's not a Vaishnava. But if one is a Vaishnava swapacho, even from a lower family, Vaishnava swapacho guru, then he can become a guru because he's a Vaishnava. So the platform of Vaishnava surpasses the platform of a Brahmana. And if a Brahmana is not a Vaishnava, there's no use in becoming his disciple or accepting initiation from him. Although we see that in some families, there's a Vedic ritual initiation. That some of our Nepali families right here have done that for their children. But that's not the same thing as taking initiation from a Vaishnava guru. That's just a ritual thing. So that's an important point. And furthermore, in the discussion in the 8th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we referred to last week in that class about Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, all the different types of truths that are discussed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya tells Ramananda Roy that the qualification of a person to be guru, he says, Kibra Vipra, whether one is a Brahmana, Kibra Nasi, whether one is a sannyasi, Shudra Kenina, even if one is a Shudra, Ye Krishna Tattva Veta, say Guru Hai. If he knows Ye Krishna Tattva, he knows the science of Krishna, if he's realizing the truth of Krishna consciousness, say Guru Hai, then he is qualified to become a spiritual master, regardless of whatever he may be, if he knows the science of Krishna. That is the qualification. A Krishna Tattva Vita, say Guru Hai. So that is the person worthy of taking shelter of accepting as the spiritual master, one who knows the science of Krishna. Say Guru Hai. He is qualified. A Krishna Tattva, because he knows Krishna Tattva. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, let's see, what else And it's mentioned in this verse that even if one has the duration of life of a demigod, like Lord Brahma, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Maharyad Brahmano Vidhu, Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam, Teho Ratra Vido Janaha, that 1,000 ages, 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas taken together, that is a Divya Yuga, that is 1 day of Brahma, 4,320,000 years. But actually it's times 1,000 times that. It's actually 4,320,000,000 years is 1 day of Brahma. And that is also one of his nights. So 8,640,000,000 years is the 24-hour cycle. Like that's the 24-hour news cycle. Well, Lord Brahma's 24-hour news cycle is 8,640,000,000 years. Gee, that seems like a long time. But he's got his time and we got our time. But even if one has a lifetime as long as Brahma, if he's not engaging his time and his lifespan in the service of Krishna, then Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It's just a waste. Or what is it said in today's verse in Sanskrit? Purport is so long that to scroll through it takes a long time.
Is it useless?
Right in the verse that Api Vibhuda Ayusha, even if one has the duration of life of the demigods, if he's not engaged in serving Krishna, then Kim Janmabi CB, what is the use of these birth by theme, birth by initiation, birth by jagya? What is the point? Iha, in this world, of all that, even with a long life like Brahma, if one is not engaged in the service of Krishna. Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam, otherwise one is just wasting time, just going through the machinations of being in the material existence, and then one dies and takes another birth, and one just is going through that over and over. But what's the use of all that if one is not engaged in the service of the Lord? So someone may be very, very rich, and so we see someone who's rich, so, oh, he is very rich. And we're thinking, boy, I wish I was rich. But he is very rich. That is very wonderful. But if he's not using it in the service of Krishna, Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It's actually useless. It's of no value. Why would you want to be rich without using it in the service of Krishna? It's just a burden. It's just like carrying a heavy burden and managing the money, and everybody's always trying to get it from you, and you're trying to protect it. And thieves are coming, and the government's coming to tax you, and the municipal authorities are fining you, and so many things take place, and the people are always approaching you as, oh, I'm your good friend. But really, all they want to do is figure out some way to manipulate you to get the money. That's what happens to rich people. They can't trust anybody. And we heard one story about when Barack Obama was president of the United States, there was an opportunity. He was somewhere in Florida, and Radhanath Swami was there, and there was an opportunity for him to meet Barack Obama. So they met, and Radhanath Swami preached to him a little bit, just a little bit. And then Barack Obama said, well, you're the first person I met that didn't want something from me. Usually somebody wants to meet the president. Mr. President, how are you today? Mr. President, I need this thing and Congress to do that, and can you arrange for this, and can you help me in this way? And Radhanath Swami met with him, and he wasn't asking anything of him. He didn't have some agenda to present to him. He was just giving Krishna. He gave him Bhagavad Gita. And then afterwards, at the end of the meeting, President Obama said, "Wow," he said, "you weren't trying to get something. You weren't asking for anything from me. You're just giving your spiritual knowledge." He was impressed by that. Because you're not trying to, you're not trying to make some kind of deal or get something. So, it's pretty smart guys. Generally speaking, when somebody becomes president, they probably are a pretty smart guy, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it happens. So happens that one is not as smart as he thinks he is. So, and why doesn't the rest of the world recognize how smart and powerful and perfect I am? But that was, he was truly moved by the spiritual quality of the sadhu, in this case, Radhanath Swami, who's a very elevated sadhu, great saintly person. He was moved by that purity of the character. There's another story I heard. There was a meeting between Muhammad Ali. You know who Muhammad Ali was? The great boxer. "I am the greatest." He was always proclaiming his own glories, unfortunately. And he had a meeting with Bhakti Tirtha Swami, who was preaching in Africa and to the African Americans and to the Africans. And there was an opportunity for him to meet Muhammad Ali. And then Muhammad Ali was telling him, Bhakti Tirtha Swami was telling Muhammad Ali, that you're not the body, you're actually the soul. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami, very effulgent person. And Muhammad Ali said to him something to the effect, he said, "Yes," he said, "I can see they're very spiritual." He said, "I can see the soul shining right through you." Because Bhakti Tirtha Swami is a very, those of you who know him, you're initiated by him. I knew him and had some opportunities to associate with him. And a very effulgent, beautiful, spiritually lit up personality. And so that's what Muhammad Ali said. "I can see the soul shining right through your eyes." He was very impressed. And this reminds me of one time when I first met Bhakti Tirtha Swami in the 1970s. And at that time I was living in the Boston Temple, and he came to the temple and he stayed not a few days, a little visit. And then I had a chance to come into his room and, get a few moments of his association. And then he said, "I want to tell you something." He said, "Hey, wait a minute. He said, "Okay, something's coming through." He was tuned into the Krishna frequency. He was, tuned into that Krishna broadcast, and something was coming through from the super soul. He said, he had his hand to that, "Something's coming through." I was like, wow. That blew me away, because I could see it was real. Something was coming through from Krishna through him, and then he was speaking. I forgot what it was, but it was just, the whole incident was like, I marveled at that and have never forgotten it ever since. So when we become connected to Krishna, then things come through, because when one is connected to the super soul gives one direction. And then when one takes that direction, one acts according to the instructions of the super soul. That is a platform of devotional service. All right, so we'll stop here. Questions, comments, realizations?
I saw his Ganesha. Yeah, when Bhakti Tirtha was Ganesham in LA, and he was just tall and beautiful. And I remember hearing the story of the nuns were kind of flustered because he was so gorgeous.
Yeah, and he used to dance with his dunda. And then later on, he got one of those big frame drums. Yeah, big frame drum. It's just a frame and a drum head. And he would hold that, and he had a stick to beat it with, and he'd boom, boom, boom.
Somebody would hold it for him.
Yeah, big loud thing. And one time in Atlanta during the Rath Yatra, he came for that Rath Yatra, and I was with him, and he was so inspired, and he was dancing, and I also danced with him. And we danced together, the two of us, for a good part of the Rath Yatra parade. Other people are, Rath Yatra people just kind of walk in, we're going along. But he was dancing, I was dancing with him, and we danced together for like a mile, and it was ecstatic. It was completely ecstatic. His dancing was so wonderful that I became inspired to dance with him. We were dancing together. Dancing with the Stars. The star was Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He could dance. He had some moves.
They say he never danced until after he took sannyas.
Oh yeah?
As Ganesham, he never danced.
I didn't know
It
that.
was only after he took sannyas.
Yeah, I only knew him as Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
Yeah.
I never knew.
Yeah, that all came later. But then he was a prolific dancer.
Yes, very enthusiastic dancer. Here, Taneshwar wants to say something.
Nice class. Yeah. I read somewhere that Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he actually snuck into Muhammad Ali's home. That's how he started preaching to him. He dressed up and he said, "I'm so and so," and they let him through the gates. And then when he came to Muhammad Ali, he revealed that he was a Swami. He came here to preach. It was really incredible. He just had this plan that I'm going to go preach to this guy, but they're never letting me in if I look religious. So he dressed up and said he was something else and went into the home.
He wanted to meet the famous man and preach to him. Yeah. I see the soul shining right through your eyes, Muhammad Ali. All right. We'll stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam.